Welcome to the Scholarship GPS podcast, your directions to a debt-free college degree. And to learn more about how scholarships can pay for college, go to scholarshipgps.com. Now, here's your host, Dave, the Scholarship Coach.
Well, today I am joined by Warren Buck from Future Finders. Warren, thanks so much for coming on the Scholarship GPS podcast.
I appreciate it, Dave. It's going to be some fun.
Yeah, well, we met in a Facebook group where we're both group experts on various topics. And you've shared so much fantastic information in that group. I thought that needs to get out to a wider audience, specifically my listeners. So that's why I wanted to have you on the show. If you would, just give us a quick introduction of yourself and your background.
Yeah, so thanks again, Dave. I'm really excited about this opportunity. So I live up in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been a teacher and a principal for the last couple of decades, and really have fallen in love with this process of helping kids with what's next. Sometimes when you're in education, you get stuck with being in the moment and doing everything you possibly can. But when you sit down with a kid and their family and start talking about the future and their eyes start to light up to the possibility, that's what I really get excited about. So yeah, like you, I like to hop into those Facebook groups, share as much information as I can, add to the voices that parents are hearing, because I really am anti-gatekeeping, and I want to make sure that this information is out there for families and that they get the help that they need, because this is such a key transition phase in life. We all know that. That's why we're all here. That's why we care so much. And as someone, frankly, that didn't get a lot of that support when I was a kid, it really means a lot to me because I know the difference that it makes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, same boat for me. Like I was just kind of left to hang out in the wind. My parents, not that I blame them. Neither of them went to college, and so they didn't really know what to do. And I definitely could have used the guidance that I see now is available. And thankfully, I was able to help my son with that, both personally and bringing in outside resources. And
well, and I love your son's story about how he basically cobbled together full ride scholarship.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's exactly the kind of message that families need to hear. Is it's out there. You
Yeah.
just gotta go get it. You gotta ask for it. You gotta not be shy and wait for it to come to you.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Well,
Perfect.
I love that you focused on you're helping students with their future plans. And we're gonna kind of take two branches here for those who are listening whose student maybe is not sure if they're going to college or definitely knows they're not. We're gonna get to you, but first let's maybe talk a little bit more about the college admissions process and some of your perspectives on that. You recently sent a newsletter, and I love getting that from you, where you said, "Fit is not a vibe. How to build a weighted college list that works for your teen." Can you talk a little bit about building a college list?
Yeah, I'd love to. And we're going to go ahead right into the controversy here, Dave. I like using AI.
Okay.
So I've spent the last couple of years well, actually, I worked with a nonprofit called City Year before starting my own business, and started to dabble in AI there, and then transitioned over to starting this business. And really have fallen in love with the capacity that AI gives me to really help families with fit, and
Okay.
not just in a typical reach, target, safety kind of way.
Hmm.
We're able to, I've refined it over the couple of years to develop these questionnaires that are really detailed, that I have clients fill out about what they're looking for in a college.
Okay.
And then able to use a really detailed prompt that I've developed to make sure that the AI is searching through schools for what my clients are looking for and what students are looking for. So that allows us to push a little past the paradigm of
Hmm.
your ability to get into the school being a determining factor. We get as micro in that survey as, are you going to have a car on campus? Are you going to need to
Well,
worry about parking? And then just using different weights for things in their order of importance,
okay.
that when the AI is evaluating things like parking, which don't really matter that much, it's given a very small weight. And
Hmm.
then when you're talking about finding schools that offer good major programs and
Hmm.
job placement, those kind of really important things, it weights it much higher. So I think we're at an exciting point in this game where AI can really help be the expert in the room, that normally you have to pay thousands of dollars for or spend ungodly amounts of time
Yeah.
doing the research through. So I just like to tell my families, yes, I use AI to do the busy part, the Google searching that can take forever and ever and ever. AI can do that for me, so I can really stay focused on using my expertise and my connections to sort through those results to make sure that they pass not just the vibe check, but also the fact check. We want to make sure that everything's super accurate, and that's what we've really pushed to do. So I think families are in a cool position. They just it's another new thing they have to learn on all
Right.
on the differences from like you and I were talking about back in my day, a big thick book of colleges and look through it and
Exactly.
pick out ones that had the major we were looking for or whatever our methodology was.
Yeah, yeah. Or in my case, I didn't even bother with the book. It was just, oh, I've heard of this college. Let me throw an application in and see if I get in.
Yeah, it's amazing. The schools I applied to weighted pretty heavily with the colleges that I watched on Saturdays playing football.
Yes, yeah, that was definitely part of the decision process.
Go Gators.
Oh no, no, go Knowles.
Sorry, knew we were gonna have this.
Yeah, yep. Well, I want to maybe circle back to the AI question,
Yeah.
but I want to first let's stick with this list building thing. And one of the other blog posts you had recently was why every application strategy should begin with the bottom line. So I'm assuming you're talking about the financials there.
Yeah.
How does that factor into building a college list?
Well, like you said, it has to start with the finances of the
Mhm.
situation. I think you and I, and probably a lot of people listening to this, have experienced the spring in these Facebook groups when you have
Yeah,
parents
yeah,
and kids that have worked so hard to get to the school that they want to go to, and then the bill comes due, and they have no idea how they're going to pay for it because they
yep,
were so locked in on the school. They never considered the bottom line of paying for it. They just kind of always assumed that it would work out for themselves.
yep.
And again, this is probably my past trauma with this. My parents basically sent me off to college with a pack of hangers, a new bedspread, and a new pair of shoes, and told me to go get it. And quickly came to realize that I needed to work full time to pay my
Mhm.
way through school, and no one had really put that in the brochure for me. So,
Yeah,
what I do is I provide this guide to my families that really leads them through the budgeting process. How much can you expect to contribute every year?
hmm,
What can you expect to find in the financial aid and scholarship process? What other sources might be there? And then when you add that up, that's your number. Like you might get lucky and that number might change. You might work with somebody really talented like Dave at Scholarship GPS that's gonna hook you up and find you a bunch of scholarships. But everybody needs to be on the same page with that. If you're gonna have to
yeah,
bust tail for scholarships, you all need to be working towards that together. That means
hmm,
lots of essays. That means lots of research. That means going to Dave's website every week and checking out everything he's sending you. That's a lot of work. You got to know that. You got to be down for that. So
yeah,
I really like families to, if you can afford $25,000 a year, that's where your search needs to start. And
yep.
if you go above that number, you've got to realize that that comes with extra sacrifice for your family, one way or the other. You can't expect it to just fall out of the sky for you. You've got to go get it.
Yeah, yep. I heard a quote, and I can't even remember who said that, but it was on maybe a podcast I listened to this week. But it was, you have to value tomorrow more than you value today. And that is, I think that's so true for everything. But,
Yep.
just in the context of college and, like you said, the work required to find the right fit, to find the college you can afford. And then if you want to go up to a college that you would love to go to but can't afford, you got to value tomorrow, that college, more than you value today, the work put in to apply for the scholarships to help you afford that college.
Absolutely. And I think, this process should lead to some really good discussions with the family, because
Yeah.
you're sitting down. First of all, it's good to talk to your kids about money so that
Yes.
they're
Yes.
realistic about how the world works when it
Yep.
comes to these kind of issues. So just straight from that level, it's super helpful. But then it also really makes you, focus in on what's important in college. And a
Hmm.
lot of the times, as a former principal, one of the things that I know is that the kids are just a lot of the times they're really wrapped up in what their friends are saying or what the
Yeah.
peer pressure is at that high school.
Yep.
And they get it in their head that they have to go to XYZ school because if they don't, they're less or
Hmm.
different,
Yeah.
and they don't want that. So you have to have conversations with your kids about, all right, why do you want to go to that school?
Yep.
You know, break it down for me. And if they can't, it's telling you something right there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, just to kind of reiterate something you said a minute ago about some of the things you see like in the spring in these parent Facebook
Oh,
groups. I mean, for transparency, we're recording this in early August, and I am still getting emails from parents saying, we don't
uh,
know how we're paying for college. I mean, at, at the
yeah,
most, they have what, maybe 3 weeks to figure this out? I mean, so
yeah,
yeah, you just
heartbreaking.
really have to have those financial discussions with your student early in the process. The earlier, the better. And it's fantastic to have some of these financial reach schools, we might call them, but
Hmm.
just make sure the student understands that this is a reach and that there's going to be some things that they're going to have to do that may make it possible. It's not guaranteed, but just really setting expectations, I think, is so key.
Yeah, and I think it also leads to an important discussion in your family about debt and your
Yes.
willingness to take on student loans. As somebody that paid off his student loans at the ripe old age of 48,
Hmm.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's something that has to be talked about in a realistic context so that kids can really understand that, okay, if you take out these loans, they're not going anywhere
Yeah.
ever under any circumstance. So
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
aware.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one other thing that parents are very surprised about is the amount of, maybe we'll call it automatic aid, whether it's
Mm.
scholarships from the colleges. That's not easy to get. In fact, just today, my post for my newsletter was about a girl I worked with, class of 2025. She was class valedictorian, and the her quote dream school. Do you want to take a guess at how much they offered her?
$20,000.
You are not even close.
Oh no.
$1,000. $1,000 for a class
Victorian?
valedictorian.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yep.
gosh. Okay.
So
Well,
yeah, I worked with her family. She pivoted to another school, and
yep.
I helped her interview for a full tuition scholarship at a different college, and that's where she'll be moving into in a couple weeks with that full tuition scholarship. Plus, I think we're up to maybe a dozen outside scholarships, and her mom just
Oh, that's
emailed
great.
me yesterday saying, we heard from this other scholarship, and we've adjusted some things, and barring any catastrophe, we're covered for 4 years now, tuition, room, board, books, and fees.
There
So
you go.
yeah.
That's what you like. Well, and I think that speaks to something I see a lot of is the myth of the full ride.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't like I haven't written about it yet, but I think that's a real thing where families feel like there's full ride scholarships just waiting for everybody out there
yep,
if you've gotten pretty good grades. And they seem to think that FAFSA, federal financial aid, is going to provide them with all this crazy amounts of money. And if
yep.
I'm not sure the exact amount of a full Pell Grant right now, but it's right around $8,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's not going to take you very far at many four-year schools. So I think
Yep,
families need to do a little, in addition to doing the budgeting on their end, doing some basic education about the financial aid landscape and
yeah,
what that actually looks like. Because as soon as you do some evaluation of that, you will be on the phone with Dave immediately because you need to be proactive about it. And I think that's one of the great things that you do in your social media is, class of 28. What are you doing with scholarships?
yeah, yeah,
Class of 29, not too early to think about it. So
yep.
yeah, thanks for putting that out there. It informs my work with my clients as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, thanks for that. Well, I keep referring back to your blog because you put out so many great pieces, but one of the others that was recent is why great grades don't equal great applications. And I think I know where you're going to go with that, but can you talk a little bit about what you mean there?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has great stats these days.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's something that we probably see a lot in our work.
Yep.
Obviously, as an educator, I saw it a lot how grades just seem to kind of inflate over time. And no shade to any high achieving students. You're
Yeah.
doing great work. There is no doubt about that.
Mhm.
So those 4.0 plus GPAs, the SATs over 1400, over 1500, those are phenomenal.
Mhm.
Make no mistake, you've done excellent work. You should be very proud. Unfortunately, where that runs into a problem is that there's a lot of high stack kids out
Yeah.
there. So when you're doing your application, your transcript and your test scores are going to look very similar to a lot of kids.
Hmm.
And you're also in a situation where a lot of the activities are going to look pretty the same. You know, a lot of kids in DECA or FBLA or Model UN. There's a lot of these things that are coming out of the same playbook that are going to show up in a lot of the same applications. So what I really stress to families, and maybe my former ELA teacher bias here, but I want you to tell a full story with
Yeah.
your application.
Yeah.
I want the transcript and the test scores to say that you're a wonderful student that has a lot of strengths that you're going to bring to that campus. I want your activities list to shine on the things that you're most passionate about. I want letters of recommendation that speak to your character and the things that you bring to the table. But then that essay is where it's at. And I'm sure you probably talked to a lot of essay experts, and
Hmm.
I'm more of an essay passionist, I guess. I just
Okay.
love writing and I
Uh,
love this exercise with students. So I really want students to dig in there and understand that their application essay has to tell the whole story about who they are. You
yep.
don't want that personal statement to just repeat facts that are already in other parts
Yeah.
of
Yep.
the S or in the application package. So I push my students to really think about what makes them unique, what
Hmm.
happened in their life that made them into the person that they are. How did that event help shape them? What did they learn from it? How did they act differently after it? And very importantly, what are they going to do differently, or what are they going to do when they get on a college campus that's going to make that campus a better place? So
Yep.
you would think you just sit down and write an essay that's, like a lot of the other essays you've written in school, but I don't think this essay really tracks with an expository essay or an argumentative essay.
Right.
This is its own kind of beast, and you have to
Yes.
be prepared for that.
Yeah, yep. Just I was listening to the interview I did with that valedictorian I just mentioned, and that was
Mhm.
actually one of the things her mom said in that interview was the essays that she had to write for admissions and for scholarships were so different than anything she had written
Oh,
in school. So this is a completely different animal that almost no students have any experience with. And so
yeah.
um, I mean, one reason to maybe start applying for scholarships freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school is you're going to write some of these essays. Even if you didn't win any of them, you're going to have you're going to be better set up for your college admission essay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing, so I used this podcast to plug AI earlier because I do think
Yeah, I
it's
wanted to, that was where I was going to come back. Yep.
but I just want to be as clear as possible. And you can tell from the kind of conversation that we're having that this isn't your normal essay. This
Yep.
isn't a research paper for your boring class in 10th grade that you don't like. This is something that has to come so authentically from you and your heart and your experience. I just want to say to any kids listening, this is not the time for AI.
Yes.
Come in.
Yep.
Do not use it. I love AI for so many reasons, and it does have a place in the essay process, but it has nothing to do with writing that essay.
Yep. Yep.
You have to sound authentic. Same thing for scholarship essays. You have to stand out in this process. You have to,
Yes.
you have to put yourself in the position of being the person that's reading all these essays and reading all these applications. You want to write something that's going to speak to them and get them excited.
Yep.
It's going to make them want to come back and look at your materials again. So that's my little anti-AI plug to balance out the earlier stuff.
Yeah, yep. That was where I was going to circle back with the AI discussion. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that because I mean, so many scholarship in their description or on the website, it specifically says we're going to run an AI checker, and if we think there's AI, you're going to be disqualified. So, I mean, that is a little bit of a problem in itself because these AI checkers are not fantastic. And
Yeah.
actually, one of my former students from class of 24, I don't remember now, he wrote one essay, and then he had AI write a similar essay. He
Mhm.
fed them both in, and they both came back tagged as being written by AI. So.
Yeah, we're in an interesting phase, and I don't want to hijack the conversation, but I know, we could talk a long time about the learning curve that's ahead of us with AI.
Yeah.
And I think families need to get up to speed with what's going on in the landscape. College students need to have their eyes wide open going off to college, because I'm working with a lot of former teachers that, I still kind of coach and support.
Uh-huh.
And we're talking all about how to change the way you teach based on AI, moving
Okay.
back more towards authentic, Socratic style experiences and handwritten essays and
Yeah.
prompts within class, that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
everybody's changing, everybody's shifting, and you're
Yep.
going to fall behind if you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we mentioned at the outset that you also help students with things like their future plans. Can you talk about that? Maybe how it fits in for both the college bound student, but also for students who have other paths.
Yeah, so a little bit more about my background is that I was a teacher for about a decade in very high need schools in Atlanta and Jacksonville. Then I went straight into being a principal of a school here in Jacksonville. And what struck me is, I started off with this mindset of every kid needs to go to college. We got to teach them up and get them there. I was definitely in that generation of educator.
Hmm.
But then, you get to know families and you get to know students and you get to know resources in your community, and you start doing the matching and the finding the best fit for kids. And, college isn't it for a lot of kids. And
Yeah.
those turned out to be my favorite kids a lot of the time to work with, because their eyes are open even wider and they're
Hmm.
looking for different experiences and things that are really going to fit them. So having all those years of experience with kids that take a variety of paths made me very aware that there's a lot of ways to be very successful out there. And I happen to live in an area where Florida State College at Jacksonville, FSCJ, is doing amazing things with career certificates and being able to stack those into really meaningful experiences
Hmm.
that get you ready for the workforce.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of that kind of work has just made me realize that you have to get to know these kids and their families and what they can realistically expect over the next decades before
Hmm.
you can match them up to the best possible opportunity. So, we talk a lot about college because that takes a lot of the air in the room
Yeah.
in the summer and heading into the beginning of the school year. But then a lot of what I'm passionate about is helping those kids that aren't sure about college or
Hmm.
don't know exactly what to do. Well, come on, let's go find a whole bunch of things that are options for you, do some deep dives into them, and really figure out what's there for you. And we get excited about kids that win scholarships and get accepted to schools, but there's nothing like sitting down with a family that thought their kid had no idea what they were going to do after high school, and after working with them a month or two, they have a really detailed map that's going to lead to a very bright future for them.
Hmm.
They know
Yeah.
what the steps are. They know how they're going to accomplish it. They know how they're going to afford it. We've talked through things that could go wrong and what we're going to do when that happens. And to see that in a family where not only do their eyes light up, but their shoulders get lighter because they can finally breathe. And
Yep. Yep.
there's just like a peace that comes over the family, and that's really exciting and great to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just the discussion of AI, I mean, we live in a completely different world than we did even 5 years ago, much
Yeah.
less 10, 20, 30. And there are so many different paths that students can take today. And college is only one of them. So
Yeah.
I love that you take that more holistic perspective.
Yeah, well, and that's another of the positive uses of AI. So, like, I use it to help kids with the college admission or the college search process.
Hmm.
I also have questionnaires that help kids figure out what their college major could be, what potential careers are best suited for them. So, again, using AI like the expert in a room with that human experienced
Hmm.
educator touch of knowing what to ask and how to prompt the AI, get some amazing results for kids. And they sit down in front of their initial career assessment and they're like, I've never heard of that, because a lot of
Yeah.
times kids
Yeah.
don't know what careers are even out there. And they're like, I could do that? That
Yep.
sounds really cool. And then we start digging into it because I have another tool that kind of helps them plan out the path, and just seeing how this technology and the expertise that it brings can really open up a world that kids haven't considered, is another reason that I'm really kind of bullish on AI. As long as you
Yeah.
don't use it for your essay, don't use
Yes. Yeah. Please.
it.
Well, Warren, this has been fantastic. I know people are going to want to reach out to you. Could you tell them the best way to connect with you, and if you'd like, even talk about how you work with families?
Yes, I appreciate that, Dave. So the basic way to get in touch with me is well, you can hop on Facebook and go into the parents of class of 26 and
Yeah.
27, but my website is futurefindersllc.com. That lays out all the coaching packages that I offer as far as helping families with the college admissions process or the career search process. But I also want families to know that I have a lot of free tools on my website. So
Yeah.
I've created a whole page with just freebies, things like college admissions timeline, the budget calculator that we talked about, how to use uh, net price calculators, all kinds of things are on there for families to push past some of the gatekeeping that's out there in our community to just download resources that are going to help them walk this path together. So there's lots of free tools on there. I also have some premium tools that go a little bit deeper. Everything from how to write an amazing personal statement to getting prepped for the SAT, ACT, or PSAT. So there's all kinds of things on there, and I really love the feedback cycle I get in with people where they offer improvements, and we're able to just keep building these tools to make them as user friendly as possible. So just stop by that website. My email is pretty easy to find as well, Warren at futurefindersllc.com. We offer free consultations to just talk through this path for a half an hour and see where we end up. Sometimes we'll get off those calls and parents are like, unfortunately, I'm not going to hire you, but thanks so much. We really
Yeah.
figured out a
Yeah.
lot from talking to you.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, I'm still a teacher and principal at heart. I'm a terrible businessman. Don't use that against me. I do all right, but I really just have fun helping families, and hopefully that's the experience they get from visiting our site and interacting with me.
Well, that's awesome. We will, of course, have a link to the website in the show notes of the episode today. Warren, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Really great, and frankly, some perspectives I haven't heard, especially around how to properly use AI. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it, Dave. It's been a lot of fun. I'll see you out there in those comment sections.
That's right. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Scholarship GPS podcast. Also, if you want to check links that were mentioned in this episode, visit the show notes. And for your directions to a debt-free college degree, go to scholarshipgps.com. And if you felt like this podcast could be helpful to others, share it on your socials and give us a follow.